Should I contribute to 401k as a low income earner? Now, before we dive in, just a quick reminder. This video is for informational and entertainment purposes only and should not be considered financial advice. Our full disclaimer is shown here and on our website. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Finance with Anthony. So today we're going to be discussing two main topics. The first one is going to be related to housing and investments. The second one is going to be more related to retirement and what do you do when you have weird banking financial situations. So let's dive right into some stories here on the Personal Finance Reddit. So the first one is concerned about a mortgage that is roughly 50% of my net income. All right, let's see what's going on here. I'm considering putting an offer in on a small condo, mostly at the urging of my parents, but also because I desperately need to get out of the house. I'm renting a room in due to harassment from another tenant, something that I'm trying not to let impact my judgment/decision making, but for context, I only earn $4,000 roughly net each month. My mortgage payment and HOA dues combined would to roughly $2,080 a month. I'm in a HCOL state, California, or CA. I'm prepared to buy. The goal of a condo is to live alone. No roommates and no spouse/partner/girlfriend wanted. So I wouldn't have the benefit of someone else's income for padding. I've spoken to a few folks and browsed a few different forums. I see opinions ranging from 50% of your net is way too much. I'm inclined to agree. I ideally want closer to 30% to 50% of your net is the new normal. 30% is outdated. Wouldn't surprise me if it was true. My parents are of the opinion that the high initial monthly expense is just part of growing up and that it's inevitable my salary increase over time to balance out the mortgage costs. I'm less confident in my salary growing up over time, but I also have been petrified of being laid off again after my last company gave me the "you're being promoted, just kidding, your department is being laid off" treatment. My folks do intend to help out. I recognize I am extremely fortunate and privileged in that way. It also means that I'm more hesitant to waste their effort and financial gifts if I'm not able to sustain the payments. I wouldn't expect them, nor would it be right for them to swoop in and save me if things go belly up. When it comes to managing finances, I am very frugal. My dad's also a career accountant, so my sister and both learned good money management skills. Again, something I'm very fortunate to have. I have excellent credit, around 770 plus. I would have a decent but not great emergency fund left over. We'll sit at roughly 4 months of expenses covered if I do purchase, and virtually no debt. Roughly $500 credit I'd rack up and pay off every month. Would my budget be tight? Absolutely. Would my lifestyle need to change much to accommodate it? No, not really. I don't have superfluous subscriptions or loans, no Netflix, no Prime, no car payment, etc. It would mean less spending money and definitely means no big expenses for the immediate future. Mostly means no remodels or the like to the home. It just feels risky and almost selfish in a way. Risky for obvious financial reasons, selfish because it would mean prioritizing my comfort and happiness over the amount of money I save on cheap accommodations. TLDR, I net 4K a month and mortgage would be roughly 2K a month. Is this viable at all, or should I rent another year, hopefully for a higher salary, and pray I don't get pricked out in a year's time? And I don't get priced out in a year's time. I'd love to get other opinions, especially any testimonies from folks who decided to do the roughly 50% of net mortgage good or bad experiences. Edit. Thanks everyone for giving your thoughts, especially those who have been in situations similar to mine and how you worked through it. I can't possibly reply to everyone, but I appreciate your time. So it's a pretty long post, but kind of to summarize what's going on here, you have someone who is not doing the norm of, normally people put around 20 or 30%, of their income, usually to mortgage payments, to rent payments, all these kinds of things. But the trend nowadays, to be honest, is that roughly 50% or more of our income is going towards mortgages, towards rent. It's inevitable. It's housing prices are just so crazy right now. Rent is crazy. Housing is crazy. It's just a sad fact that we're living in, especially in higher areas like New York City, New Jersey. All these kinds of places really have skyrocketed in price. So it's actually not uncommon nowadays for people to actually put roughly 50% of their income in rental or mortgages and things of the like. It does leave you susceptible to high risk. So if you get laid off from your position, you're more likely to actually have to potentially lose the home or the condo in this case that you're purchasing. The other aspect is you're going to actually need a higher emergency fund, more money in your emergency fund to cover the same 6 to 12 months that you're going to need. So yeah, your emergency fund is going to be at least 6. You're going to, for those 6 to 12 months of emergency fund you're going to need, the amount that you're going to have to put in there is also going to be higher. So these are factors definitely that you need to consider. But at the same time, the way housing is, and probably everyone says it, at one point it might go down, but over the years it hasn't gone down really. So the longer you wait to actually purchase a home, in most cases you're actually going to see the prices continue to increase and continue to just skyrocket out of nowhere. On average, usually homes are now year over year roughly 4 to 5% increase every single year, which I know sounds terrible, but it is the reality we're living in right now. So hopefully, you can, at least have some buffer, continue to, if you can, luckily you have your ability to rely on your parents, but at the same time, don't use that as the only safety net you have. Also build your own as well. Alrighty, so let's move on to the next one. Should I open a brick and mortar bank account in order to deposit/get cash into my online only bank account at Schwab/Ally? I have a checking account at Charles Schwab, online only bank, and a savings account at Ally, also an online only bank. I rarely, if ever, use cash, but lately I'm going to be having cash on me, and I'm wondering the best way to get into cash into either of these two X accounts, and it seems like the best way is to open an account at a brick and mortar bank. Thoughts/ideas/suggestions, and if so, which bank does everyone recommend? So this is a very great question. So what I would say is look for, if you actually decide to open up a brick and mortar account, look for the bank that has the most locations and is also the most widely accepted in terms of ATMs. So a lot of cases you're going to have ATMs in like subway stations and airports, in a lot of places. Kind of see and gauge what kind of ATMs do they have. In a lot of cases, the two main companies that I see are Chase and Citi. And those are actually, funny enough, the two of the accounts that I have for my brick and mortar accounts. So I would say I would go with either one of those two. However, it's not unheard of also to do like a TD Bank, because it does have some flexibility in terms of like being open 7 days a week, for example, and those things. And most banks are only open like Monday through Saturday. None of them are open Sunday. So if you do need that Sunday piece as well, then it's always good to, look for these kind of things like what TD Bank has. So overall, it's going to depend on your situation, but I would say the main two pieces are make sure there's enough locations where you are. And the second thing is it convenient for you? So those are going to be the two main pieces, because overall the interest is not going to be amazing at a brick and mortar bank, sadly, but you will have the convenience of being able to actually go and deposit funds or take out funds when you need it, and also transfer, between your accounts. Alrighty, so let's move on to the next one. Does a 401k make sense if you earn a low salary? This is a good one. I make around $32K a year and my company offers a 401k match, but I could really use that extra money for day-to-day expenses. I hear a lot of conflicting advice. Some say every little bit helps. Others say it's better to focus on an emergency fund first. Anyways, is it really worth contributing when my income is this low? So what I would say is, and this is just my honest advice, the first thing you need to do for yourself is figure out, can you even contribute any money into a 401k or a retirement account? That's the first thing I would say. Kind of figure out what are your monthly expenses, and then see what actually goes out. And then at the end, let's say at the end you have like, let's make believe 1K a month. That's the portion you have to play with. So figure out first, what do you have remaining after the end of the month, after all your necessary and ordinary expenses are paid off. And then of the 1K, the way I would do it is that I would max out the 401k, is the first thing. So because that's effectively free money from your employer. And then everything else, start building that emergency fund, 6 to 12 months. Once you have those, once you have your emergency fund, then you can contribute a little bit more to the 401k, or you could decide to go a different route and be like, hey, I maybe want to buy a house, or you want to invest in more other kinds of things like stocks, for example. Maybe you want to do S&P 500, you want to do 401k, whatever it is you want to do, you have the ability to direct your money only after your necessary expenses are all paid off, including any credit cards and things like that. Alrighty, let's move on to the next one. Hello everyone, my name is Anthony and I'm the host of TheLostSanctuary. I hope you've been enjoying our content so far, and if you have, please feel free to like and subscribe. Also, we have our website up here, And we also have some socials down here. And as always, leave your comments down below. What are the best types of investments for someone who's already retired? I wish I had money and knowledge to have opened a Roth IRA when I was young, but I did not. I'm currently trying to learn more about investing, have a couple of different accounts so far. I put a small amount of money into partial stocks and into crypto. Finance has never been my strength. So this is actually an interesting one overall. So this is how risk tolerance, genuinely works. You usually have the ability to be a little riskier when you're younger and you have more time, because time is your friend. And even if you, God forbid, go belly up in the first 5-10 years when you're young, it's fine. You can rebuild. Now, when you're retired already, you have to be very, very careful with what you have. And the reason for that is because in most cases, you probably don't have a lot of cash flow generating assets at that point, depending on how you invest it. The other thing is you're not working in most cases because you're retired, of course. So I would say you have to be a little bit more, you got to be much more risk averse in this case. So you would probably be investing more in CDs, maybe government bonds, more things that are liquid in nature and much more, less risky, of course. You want to be in things that, avoid you losing, God forbid, your money. Now, if you want to dedicate maybe 5%, I'd be stretching it a bit if you said 10% of your money to invest in a little bit more risky investments. But think about it this way. You don't have usually the same time horizon when you're young. And the other aspect is you don't want to actually lose any of the money you already have, because you're going to need that for basic necessities such as food, shelter, and other items that you need to survive in your retirement age. And of course, have a good retirement, go on vacation, enjoy life, you've earned it. These are the kinds of things you need to do when you're in retirement. So, let's move on to the next story. Refinance from 30 to 20-year mortgage, close to the same monthly payment. Wow, that's pretty good. I wanted to throw this out there for people who want to refinance. I am 1.5 years into a 30-year mortgage at 7.3%. Refinancing for a 20-year mortgage at 5.9%. Monthly payments is only going up around $50 a month. Cutting 8 years off my loan is worth it. So, this is a very great topic to talk about, refinancing. So refinancing is a tool that, most people who are in high debt, mortgages, for example, would love to use, to get into a lower bracket. So in most cases, the rule that I try to use is if you can get at least 2% of your mortgage shaved off. So if you're going from 7% to 5%, that's usually my sweet spot for doing a refi. Because the thing about a refi is that it comes with a slew of costs. There's a refinance cost. Usually it's depending on the size of the mortgage, it could be $10,000 to $20,000 to actually refi. And on top of that, just this person mentioned, it could actually cut off quite a few years of the mortgage. In this case, it cut off 8 years of this person's mortgage, which is great. But at the same time, you also have to think about that there's only so many times you can refi a loan. In most cases, people refi their loan at most maybe 1 to 2 times throughout the life of a loan, just because of the process of doing a refi, plus the capital you need to do a refi, while still of course making your payments. So it's kind of like a balancing act that you have to think about. And overall, I would say 2%. I would say if you do want to do a refi, do at least 2%. And of course, refi for what you feel comfortable with. So for example, if you want to refi for a shorter term, you can do that. Refi for a lower amount, you can do that. All of these are advantages to you and will help pay off your mortgage faster, which will make you actually, debt free and, mortgage free, which is the best feeling ever. So let's dive right into the next one now. Should I contribute to 401k as a low income earner? I, 24, am currently live in California and work full time, earning just over $22 an hour. I've been with the company for almost 8 months. My employer offers a 401k plan with a vesting period of 2 years, meaning I'd only keep 20% of the company's contributions if I leave before that. They also offer a 50% match on contributions up to 8%. However, I don't plan on staying with the company for that long. Given this, would it still be beneficial for me to contribute to my 401k? I'm questioning if the tax benefits are worth it, but since I don't earn that much, I'm considering putting that extra money into my Roth IRA or using it to build up a larger emergency/savings fund instead. I'd appreciate any advice from people with more financial knowledge. Thanks in advance. So, this is a very common thing out there. Like, what do I invest? Do I invest in my 401k? Do I not invest in my 401k? So, the number one rule for me is there a match? If there's no match, I would say don't bother with your employer's 401k. And there's some places that don't have a match. The second thing is there a vesting period? Some companies offer 100% vesting period right away on the match. That's usually like the prime 401k. So those are the ones where I say, hey, max it out at least until you get your match, and then invest that properly, of course. Now, in this case, his match actually has a vesting period, and he or she feels that it's not going. Or sorry, he feels that. Apologies for that. He feels that he's probably not going to stay long in the job. So that means the vesting period will impact him in some way where he won't be able to get the maximum match from this employer. So I would say in this case, you should forecast roughly how long you're going to stay with your employer, and at least do the match up to the point where you're at least getting the 20%. In this case, just do it, as if you're ensuring you're at least going to get the 20% back, which is the most you're going to get, at least for now. And then anything that you get vested will just be the gravy on top. After that, just do your own investments and think about, hey, like now I'm going to invest in like my own Roth. I'm going to invest in a real estate fund, whatever you want to invest in. Just make sure that, you have, of course, money after all of your ordinary and necessary expenses are paid off, of course. That's going to be your number one priority, making sure that everything in your life is paid off to the T. And then you could think about, like, of course, all the things I mentioned. Investing, creating an emergency fund, all the great things that you need to do with your excess money that will continue to work for you as long as you continue to build it. Alrighty, so this has been Finance with Anthony, episode 15. I hope everyone out there has a blessed day, and adios. Keep doing what you're doing. You're doing an amazing job, and I'm wishing everyone out there all the best. All right, until next time, adios.